Hello Army, and welcome back to the channel. If you are watching this for the very first time, I want to start by saying thank you for being here, and I genuinely think you clicked on the right video today. And if you have been part of this community for a while, you already know that on this channel, we do not just report what happened. We ask why it happened. We look at what it means. We sit with the weight of a story and we try to give it the full context and the full respect that it deserves. And today, Army, the story we are sitting with is one that I have been thinking about since the moment I first came across it, because on the surface it might seem like a small thing. A single social media post. A photo. A caption. But when you understand who the person in that photo is, what they represent, what industry they come from, and what it actually means for someone like that to say what they said publicly about Jungkook, it stops being a small thing very quickly. It becomes something that speaks to the extraordinary and still expanding scale of what Jungkook has built as a global cultural figure. So please, before we go any further, hit that like button if you are excited about today's topic, make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a video, and let us get into this story properly right now. Let us set the scene first, because context is everything and I want to make sure everyone watching this video understands exactly what we are talking about before we start unpacking the significance of it. Jungkook, as many of you know, has maintained an extremely active and visible presence in New York City across multiple points in his career. New York is not just a city that Jungkook has passed through, it is a place that is featured prominently in some of the most significant moments of his solo journey. He performed at Pier 17 in New York as part of the Spotify Swimside event earlier this year alongside his BTS bandmates for the Era Rain rollout. He has appeared on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon multiple times. His Calvin Klein campaigns have been plastered across New York in a way that has made him a genuinely visible part of the city's visual landscape. But beyond all of that, there is something about the way New York's cultural and media ecosystem has responded to Jungkook that goes deeper than any single event or campaign. New York is, among many things, the media capital of the world. It is the city where the most powerful voices in journalism, publishing, fashion, entertainment, and business are concentrated. And when those voices, the ones that are not K-pop fans, the ones that do not follow BTS, the ones that have no particular reason to be paying attention to any individual idol, when those voices start taking notice, start showing up, start saying things publicly about Jungkook, that is a different kind of recognition entirely. That is not fandom. That is not enthusiasm. That is the professional world acknowledging something real. And that brings us to the specific moment that is the subject of today's video. The CEO of New York Biz Magazine, a figure in the New York media landscape, someone who operates at the intersection of business, culture, and media in one of the most competitive and discerning cities on the planet, visited a Jungkook exhibition in New York City. And after visiting that exhibition, this person took to social media and shared a photo from their visit. In the caption, they did not write a fan account. They did not gush in the way that someone who had been following Jungkook for years might gush. They wrote something that, in its directness and its specificity, carries enormous weight. They called Jungkook the most popular Asian idol in American history. And they added that they hoped to be able to conduct an exclusive interview with him someday. Now I want you to really sit with that for a moment before we move forward, because I think it is easy to read those words quickly and move on. I want you to slow down and think about what each component of that statement actually means and where it comes from and what it tells us about the position Jungkook now occupies in the broader American cultural conversation. Let us start with the person making the statement. The CEO of New York Biz Magazine is not a K-pop commentator. They are not a music journalist who covers the Korean entertainment industry. They are a business media executive operating in New York City, a person whose professional world is built around identifying and covering stories of genuine cultural and commercial significance. When someone like that visits an exhibition dedicated to a Korean idol and then publicly calls that idol the most popular Asian in American history, they are not making a statement of fandom. They are making a professional observation. They are saying, essentially, that from their vantage point, a vantage point informed by years of operating at the heart of New York's media and business ecosystem, this is what the data looks like. This is what the cultural landscape reflects. This is the conclusion that an informed, objective observer reaches when they look at the evidence of what Jungkook has accomplished in the United States and in the American popular imagination. That kind of statement, from that kind of source, is qualitatively different from any amount of fan celebration. It is external, professional validation delivered without any of the emotional investment that comes with being part of a fandom. And that makes it extraordinarily meaningful. Now let us talk about the exhibition itself, because the fact that this executive visited a Jungkook exhibition in New York City is itself a significant detail that deserves attention. Exhibitions dedicated to individual K-pop artists are not a new phenomenon. They have been held in various cities around the world as part of the ongoing effort to bring fans closer to the artists they love and to celebrate specific albums, eras, or milestones in an artist's career. But the fact that an exhibition associated with Jungkook attracted the attention and the physical presence of a New York media CEO is a statement about how far Jungkook's cultural reach has extended beyond the K-pop fandom. Because the kind of person who visits a cultural exhibition in New York City as a professional rather than as a fan is the kind of person who is paying attention to what an exhibition like this represents in a broader context. They are thinking about what it means for a Korean artist to have this kind of cultural footprint in New York. They are thinking about the commercial and media implications of an artist who can draw this kind of attention, this kind of turnout, this kind of conversation in one of the world's most culturally saturated cities. And the fact that they left that exhibition, went to their phone, and wrote publicly that Jungkook is the most popular Asian idol in American history tells you something about what they found when they got there. They found something that impressed them. Something that confirmed or perhaps even exceeded what they had expected based on whatever knowledge of Jungkook they already had. They found a cultural presence that was impossible to dismiss. Let us also take a moment to examine the specific language used in the caption, because the words chosen matter enormously. The phrase "most popular Asian idol in American history" is an extraordinary claim. It is a claim that spans not just the current moment but the entire recorded history of Asian artists attempting to break through in the American market. And that history is long and complicated and filled with extraordinary talent that, for various structural, cultural, and systemic reasons, was never fully embraced by American mainstream audiences. Think about what it has historically meant for an Asian artist to try to build a career and a fan base in the United States. Think about the barriers, linguistic, cultural, racial, structural, that have stood between Asian performers and genuine mainstream American recognition for decades. Think about how many talented, deserving artists from across Asia poured their creativity and their ambition into the American market and found walls they could not scale, not because of any failure of talent but because of systems and gatekeeping structures that were not designed with them in mind. And then think about what it means for a New York media CEO, someone who operates within and adjacent to those very structures, to stand in a New York exhibition space and say, unequivocally, that Jungkook is the most popular Asian idol that history has produced in this country. That is not a small statement. That is a seismic one. That is someone inside the industry acknowledging that the walls have been breached, that the landscape has fundamentally changed, and that the person most responsible for that change in this specific domain is Park Jungkook. And is that claim supportable? Is there actual evidence to back up what this executive said? Army, the answer is yes. Absolutely yes. And let us walk through some of that evidence together, because the case for Jungkook as the most impactful Asian solo artist in American music history is genuinely compelling when you lay out the facts. Start with 7. Released in July 2023 as Jungkook's first solo single, 7 debuted at #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. That made him the first Korean solo artist to achieve that milestone. Not one of the first. The first. Full stop. No Korean solo artist had ever done that before. In a chart history that stretches back more than 6 decades and includes thousands of artists from every corner of the world, Jungkook was the first Korean solo performer to reach the very top of America's most prestigious singles chart. The song went on to accumulate over 2.3 billion streams on Spotify alone, a historic achievement for any Asian artist. It entered the Billboard Global 200 and stayed there for what became, as of April 2026, 139 consecutive weeks, the longest chart run ever achieved by any Asian solo artist on that particular chart. These are not fan statistics. These are not numbers generated by coordinated streaming campaigns among a dedicated niche audience. These are mainstream commercial metrics measured by the same standards applied to every other artist in the world, and they are extraordinary. Then there is Golden, the album. Debuting at number 2 on the Billboard 200 with over 210,000 equivalent album units in its first week, it became the highest charting album by a Korean solo artist in American chart history at the time of its release. The album charted in 25 countries. It topped the charts in multiple markets including South Korea, Japan, Belgium, and France. It sold over 2.4 million copies worldwide within its first month. And the album spawned not one but multiple hits that continued to generate streams and radio play and cultural conversation long after the initial release period had ended. Standing Next to You, 3D featuring Jack Harlow, and other tracks from Golden became part of the permanent sonic landscape of 2023 and beyond. And then, on top of all of that individual commercial success, there is the Calvin Klein dimension of Jungkook's American presence, the brand ambassadorship that put his face on billboards and in storefronts across New York City, that generated fashion and cultural coverage in publications that had never previously covered a K-pop artist in depth, that positioned him not just as a musician but as a genuine style icon and aspirational figure in the American cultural landscape. The reach of Jungkook's face and name in New York specifically has been remarkable enough, apparently, to bring a media CEO to an exhibition space and leave them reaching for their phone to share what they witnessed. Now I want to talk about something that I think is equally important as all of the commercial data, and it is something that the New York Biz CEO's post touches on in a different way. The desire to conduct an exclusive interview with Jungkook is not just flattery. It is a business and editorial decision. When a media executive says publicly that they want to interview someone, they are saying that they believe their audience wants to read that interview. They are saying that they believe the story of this person is a story that has commercial and cultural value for their publication and their readership. The CEO of a New York business magazine does not chase interviews with subjects who are not relevant to their core audience. They pursue subjects whose stories intersect with the world of business, culture, and power that their readership cares about. And the fact that this executive has publicly positioned Jungkook as someone they want to interview in that context, in the context of a business and culture publication aimed at a New York professional audience, tells you something profound about how Jungkook is now being perceived in the American mainstream. He is not being perceived purely as a pop idol or an entertainment product. He is being perceived as a figure of genuine cultural significance, a person whose story and whose impact have implications that extend beyond music and fandom into the broader landscape of business, media, and cultural influence. That is a qualitatively different kind of recognition, and it is exactly the kind of recognition that opens doors that have historically been closed to Asian artists in the American market. There is a larger conversation worth having here about what Jungkook represents in the context of the ongoing global expansion of Korean culture, because his individual story does not exist in isolation. It exists within a broader cultural moment that has been building for years. The global embrace of Korean cinema, exemplified most dramatically by Parasite's historic Oscar wins. The global explosion of Korean drama through platforms like Netflix. The ongoing dominance of K-pop as a commercial and cultural force across Asia, Europe, Latin America, and increasingly in Western markets. All of these currents have been running simultaneously, and they have been gradually reshaping the way that Western audiences, Western media, and Western cultural institutions think about and engage with Korean creative work. BTS has been one of the most powerful engines of that reshaping, and within BTS, Jungkook has been one of the most visible and commercially effective faces of that project. His ability to move seamlessly between the group context and the solo context, to build a massive independent commercial presence while remaining the heart of the world's biggest boy band, has made him uniquely positioned to serve as a bridge between the K-pop world and the broader American mainstream. And moments like the New York Biz CEO's visit to his exhibition and the subsequent public statement are evidence that the bridge he has been building is strong enough to carry real weight. I also want to talk about what this moment means for the future, because everything in this story points forward as much as it looks back at what has already been achieved. Jungkook is 28 years old. He is at the absolute peak of his commercial and artistic powers. He has just completed a massively successful group comeback with BTS and the Ararang album, which debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 with 641,000 equivalent album units, the largest opening week by a group since the chart began measuring units in December 2014. He has demonstrated through his songwriting contributions to Ararang that his creative ambitions extend well beyond performing to include writing and shaping the music itself. He is widely reported to be preparing solo material that by all available indications will be more artistically ambitious and personally expressive than Golden. And now he has the attention of the New York media establishment in a way that very few, perhaps no Asian artists have had before him. The combination of all of those factors, the commercial track record, the creative development, the cultural currency, the media attention, creates conditions for the next phase of his career that are genuinely unprecedented. Not just for a Korean artist. Not just for an Asian artist. But for any artist operating in the global pop music landscape right now. Think about what an exclusive interview between Jungkook and a New York business media outlet would actually look like and what it would mean. Think about the audience that interview would reach, not just ARMY, not just K-pop fans, but the New York professional and business community, the readers of a media publication who might have heard Jungkook's name but never engaged deeply with his story, who might know Seven was a hit but have no idea about the full scope of what this person has built and what he represents. An interview in that context would not be a fan celebration. It would be a serious examination of what Jungkook has accomplished as an artist and as a commercial phenomenon, placed in the context of the broader story of Korean culture's global rise. It would introduce Jungkook to an entirely new audience on entirely new terms. And for an artist who is on the verge of a major solo comeback, the timing and the cultural positioning of a moment like that could not be more significant. The CEO of New York Biz did not just pay Jungkook a compliment. They extended an invitation into a conversation that has enormous potential implications for the next chapter of his already extraordinary career. And there is one more dimension to this story that I want to make sure we address before we wrap up, because I think it is perhaps the most personally meaningful aspect of all of this for those of us who have been walking alongside Jungkook on this journey for years. When Jungkook debuted as the youngest member of BTS in 2013, he was 15 years old. 15. He had left his hometown of Busan to move to Seoul and train as an idol at an age when most of us were worrying about homework and weekend plans. He grew up in public, in one of the most scrutinized and demanding industries in the world, under the constant gaze of millions of fans, critics, journalists, and industry observers who had opinions about everything from his voice to his weight to his personal life to his creative choices. He has navigated controversies and pressures that would break most people, and he has done so with a consistency of character and a dedication to his craft that has been, frankly, remarkable to witness. He has spent over a decade pouring himself into BTS, into his music, into his performances, into his relationships with the people he loves and the fans who have supported him. And now, in 2026, at 28 years old, in one of the most powerful media cities in the world, a CEO of a business magazine is standing in an exhibition space dedicated to his life and work and calling him the most popular Asian idol in American history and asking if they can sit down and talk with him about it. That is not just a nice moment. That is a moment of extraordinary validation for everything that Jungkook has been and everything he has done and everyone who believed in him when the rest of the world had not yet caught up. And I think it deserves to be recognized and celebrated as exactly that. ARMY, we have watched this person grow for over a decade. We have cheered for every chart position, every award, every sold-out show, every record broken and milestone achieved. We have been present for the highs and we have stood by through the difficult moments. We have celebrated Golden and Seven and standing next to you and every other extraordinary thing Jungkook has brought into the world through his talent and his tireless dedication. And now we get to watch as the world outside our community continues to catch up to what we have always known. The CEO of New York Biz did not discover something new when they visited that exhibition. They confirmed something that has been true for a very long time. Jungkook is not just a K-pop idol who found success in America. He is a genuine cultural phenomenon whose impact on the American entertainment and media landscape is real, documented, and increasingly acknowledged by exactly the kinds of voices that carry the most weight in the mainstream conversation. The most popular Asian idol in American history. Said not by a fan. Said not by a streaming algorithm. Said by a media professional in New York City who showed up, looked around, and told the truth. And the best part? ARMY, we are still in the early chapters of this story. The next solo album is coming. The world tour energy is building. The creative evolution that we saw glimpses of through Arirang is going to continue to unfold in ways we cannot fully predict but can absolutely look forward to with excitement. And if the CEO of New York Biz wants that exclusive interview, I have a feeling they are going to have to get in a very long line, because the world has a lot of questions for Park Jungkook right now. And based on everything we know about this person, his depth, his thoughtfulness, his genuine artistic seriousness, when he finally sits down to answer them, it is going to be something worth watching. Thank you so much for being here today, Army. If this video gave you a new perspective on just how far Jungkook's influence has reached and what it really means for the broader conversation about Asian artists in the American mainstream, please show some love with a thumbs up. It means everything to this channel and it tells me that this is the content you want more of. Subscribe if you have not already, because we are going to keep following this story as it develops and we are not going to miss a single moment of what is shaping up to be the most exciting era of Jungkook's career yet. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know how this story made you feel and what you think the New York Biz interview would look like if it actually happens. I read every single comment and I love hearing from this community. Take care of yourselves, Army. I will see you in the next one.